According to the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, people have used marijuana for a variety of health conditions for at least 3,000 years. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration hasn't found that marijuana is safe or effective for treating any health problems. However, some states and the District of Columbia allow its use for certain health purposes. It's challenging to study the health effects of marijuana because of legal restrictions and the variability in the concentration of the plant's psychoactive chemicals. However, recently the federal government eased some research restrictions and also began providing researchers with more strains of marijuana. Currently, the quality of health research on marijuana and its components varies widely by disease. On January 2017, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine published a report on the health effects of marijuana and products derived from it. The report summarizes the current evidence on both therapeutic effects and harmful effects, recommends that research be done to develop a comprehensive understanding of the health effects, and recommends that steps be taken to overcome regulatory barriers that make it difficult to do research on marijuana's health effects. The FDA has approved 2 prescription drugs based on the component of marijuana. The medications may be helpful for treating the symptoms associated with cancer or for the side effects of cancer therapies. According to CNN, Colorado has pulled in $506 million since retail sales began in January 2014. Colorado was the first state to legalize recreational weed, so its market is the most mature. Lawmakers and entrepreneurs in other states and other countries look at Colorado as a measuring stick. Revenue from taxes and fees has increased each year, from $76 million in 2014 to $200 million in 2015, and the state is on track to beat that each year. Colorado has spent most of the money on schools. Smaller chunks have gone to drug prevention and treatment programs and to regulating the marijuana industry. So let me explain the tax revenue. The state applies a 2.9 sales tax to those sales, plus license and application fees. Recreational marijuana, also known as adult use, is taxed more aggressively. In addition to the sales tax of 2.9%, the state charges an excise tax of 15% and a special tax of 10%, plus license and application fees. Pot shops opened in Washington in July 2014 and Oregon in October 2015. Last year, pot tax revenue totaled $256 million in Washington and $60 million in Oregon. In that same year, Colorado brought in $200 million. Medical marijuana is legal in at least 29 states. According to Gary Wink, a professor at the Ohio State University, neurodegenerative diseases and cognitive function of aging brains in humans and animals can likely be protected and somewhat rejuvenated by a low daily dose of marijuana. Nearly 20 years ago, Wink began testing experimental compounds in lab rats trying to find something that would slow or stop inflammation in the brain, which is responsible for many neurological diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and ALS. After working with coffee and chocolate, Wink came upon studying marijuana's active ingredient, THC, after aging 60s-era hippies reported lower rates of the Alzheimer's disease. Wink's research shows THC is beneficial in older brains, and a low dosage is all that is needed. He said, "One of the most important things we have discovered is that it's very potent. One puff is enough." According to Harvard Health, about 85% of Americans support legalizing medical marijuana, and it is estimated that at least several million Americans currently use it. The least controversial is the extract of the hemp plant known as CBD, because this component of marijuana has little, if any, intoxicating properties. Marijuana itself has more than 100 active components. THC is the chemical that causes the high that goes along with marijuana consumption. CBD dominant strains have little or no THC, so patients report very little, if any, alteration in consciousness. Patients do, however, report many benefits of CBD, from relieving insomnia, anxiety, spasticity, and pain to treating potentially life-threatening conditions such as epilepsy. One particular form of childhood epilepsy called Dravet syndrome is almost impossible to control, but responds dramatically to a CBD-dominant strain of marijuana called Charlotte's Web. The most common use for medical marijuana in the United States is for pain control. While marijuana isn't strong enough for severe pain, it is quite effective for the chronic pain that plagues millions of Americans, especially as they age. Part of its allure is that it is clearly safer than opiates. It is impossible to overdose on and far less addictive, and it can take the place of NSAIDs such as Advil or Aleve if people can't take them due to problems with their kidneys or ulcers. In particular, marijuana appears to ease the pain of multiple sclerosis, the nerve pain in general. This is an area where few other options exist, and those that do, such as Neurontin, Lyrica, or opiates, are highly sedating. Patients claim that marijuana allows them to resume their previous activities without feeling completely out of it or disengaged. Along these lines, marijuana is said to be a fantastic muscle relaxant, and people swear by its ability to lessen tremors and Parkinson's disease. I have also heard of its use quite successfully for fibromyalgia, endometriosis, and most other conditions where the final common pathway is chronic pain. Marijuana is also used to manage nausea and weight loss and can be used to treat glaucoma. A highly promising area of the research is its use for PTSD in veterans who are returning from combat zones. Many veterans and their therapists report drastic improvement. Medical marijuana is also reported to help patients suffering from pain and wasting syndrome associated with HIV, as well as irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease. THC delivery system that also delivers harmful substances. The psychological effects, such as anxiety reduction, sedation, and euphoria, can influence their potential therapeutic value. Further studies have shown that marijuana is effective in relieving some of the symptoms of HIV/AIDS, cancer, glaucoma, and multiple sclerosis. In late August 2013, the U.S. Department of Justice announced an update on the marijuana enforcement policy. The statement read that while marijuana remains illegal federally, the U.S. Department of Justice expects states like Colorado and Washington to create strong state-based enforcement efforts and will defer the right to challenge their legalization laws at this time. The department also reserves the right to challenge the states at any time they feel it's necessary. Most recently, in January 2018, Attorney General Sessions issued a marijuana enforcement memorandum that allows federal prosecutors to decide how to prioritize enforcement of federal marijuana laws, including federal law enforcement priorities set by the Attorney General, the seriousness of the crime, and the deterrent effect of criminal prosecution, and the cumulative impact of particular crimes on the community. States with medical marijuana laws generally have some form of patient registry, which may provide some protection against arrest for possession and up to a certain amount of marijuana for personal medicinal use. The National Institute on Drug Abuse has more information on many aspects of marijuana, including how likely people are to abuse it and how chemicals in marijuana affect our brain and body.